You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Branford Representative Town Meeting, the RTM, will be convened on Wednesday, September 14th, 2022 at 8 p.m. at Branford Fire Headquarters, 45 North Main Street, to consider and act upon the following matters. Whenever everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 1, roll call.
Good evening, everyone. Whoops, sorry. Okay, Representative Alphone?
Here.
Representative Amore?
Here.
Representative Anderson?
Here.
Representative Barron?
Here.
Representative Black?
Here.
Representative Bonenberger?
Here.
Representative Brooks?
Here.
Representative Conklin? Absent, I believe. Representative Everson?
Here.
Representative Erlanger is virtual.
Here.
Thank you. Representative Flanagan?
All right, present.
Representative Greenberg? Virtual. Representative Healy?
Present.
Representative Henschel?
Here.
Representative Hines?
Here.
Representative Ingraham?
Here.
Representative Kelly? Absent. Representative Leach is present. Representative Maresca?
Here.
Representative Preet?
Here.
Representative Riccio is absent. Representative Shrestha?
Present.
Representative Sires?
Present.
Representative Stepanik?
Here.
Representative Sullivan?
Here.
Representative Torelli?
Present.
Thank you. Representative Toohill?
Here.
Thank you, yes, we got you. Toohill present. Representative Verderam?
Here.
Representative Witkowski?
Nope.
Absent. And Representative Wells?
Here.
Thank you. Ex officios, we have for Selectman Cosgrove and Selectman Higgins. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
All right. Item number 2, approval of the minutes of June 8th, 2022 and July 27th, 2022. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make that one.
A motion by Representative Ingraham. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, feel signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved without exception.
Mr. Moderator, I need to abstain from that. I wasn't at the meeting on the 27th.
You need it. So noted.
Didn't review the
That's
tape.
all I'm saying.
Okay, that would be the same for myself.
Okay, item number 3, reception of communications, reports of committees and citizens petitions. I have 2 that both the clerk has copies of. This one is from Representative Ingraham. Dear Mr. Moderator, I would like to have placed on the R&O call to discuss and if appropriate approve a golf cart usage ordinance for the town of Branford. I will provide a sample ordinance to the R&O once the item is accepted and scheduled for the hearing. I will send this to the Rules and Ordinance Committee. I have a letter addressed to me from Representative Everson. Dear Mr. Moderator, I am concerned about the lack of proper public notice regarding item number 4 on the call for September 14, 2022, to consider and if appropriate, approve changing the position of the Branford tax collector from an elected official to a hired appointment. The RTM is considering whether to remove the ability of the voters in the town to choose a tax collector every 2 years. as has been the case for decades, and instead allow the tax collector to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. The town clerk distributed a draft of the ordinance via email today, Thursday, September 8th, 2022, at 9:20 a.m. The 9:14 RTM meeting call was distributed via email to the RTM members on Tuesday, August 30th. In addition, accordingly to the town meeting rules, RTM committee reports are to be filed in advance of the RTM meetings. While the agenda of the Rules and Ordinance Committee, dated June 28, 2022, is posted online, the subsequent minutes of that meeting have not yet been posted. As of this writing, the town website contains only a proposed draft ordinance discussed at our special meeting, June 28, 2022, and not the outcome. As you are aware, ordinances that come before the RTM are also subject to public hearings. In the interest of transparency and good government, and in order to provide and properly notify the public of this matter and the ordinance under consideration, I request that this matter be referred to Rules and Ordinance. And this is, again, from Representative Everson. And my response to Representative Everson is the moderator does not have a power to send things back to the committee. The committee itself is the only one that can vote to make any changes. And that's all I have on the correspondence. You have nothing else, correct?
Right, so that letter is not being sent anywhere.
Right. Moving on to item 4, to consider and if appropriate, approve changes to the position of the Branford tax collector from an elected official to our hired appointment. Representative Black.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As I reported at our June 27th or July 27th meeting, committee had reached a final version of this ordinance after many meetings, all of which were open to the public. We had a fair amount of participation from town staff, selectmen, and members of the RTM at those meetings. At that point, that ordinance was with the town attorney for his review. That came back at the end of the summer from him with approval as we come up with it. It was distributed as required by our rules to all the members at least 5 days prior to this meeting. That's the requirement. It's been up more than 24 hours with our agenda, which it's on the agenda, which would be the FOI requirement. At this point, you've all had a chance to review the ordinance. The R&O committee has worked diligently on this. We've made a number of changes, and I think we have a good product. It's not necessarily everything that each of us individually would have wanted, but I think it's a good compromise, and it takes what should be a professional position out of being a popularity contest, as too many elections are. One thing that those of us who attended the early meetings will know is that while we hope perhaps to make it a regular hire, the state statute says it is elected unless it is appointed. Again, we're hoping to make this a political position, and I know that First Selectmen's committed to doing a regular advertisement for this position and job search. And so the version that you've seen, you've all had a chance to review. The committee unanimously voted to approve that, and so I put that in the form of a motion to approve the ordinance as you've received it. Thank you. And I'd like to thank Representative Henschel in particular for his help on this. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator.
Motion on the floor to approve this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Representative Ingraham?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I rise in support of this outstanding ordinance, and really the outstanding part is that the nonpartisan manner that it was handled in. Representative Black and Representative Henschel should be accommodated for getting so much done and have it all laid out. There was items that the committee took in and considered that I brought to the table. Some things were brought in that I wasn't exactly happy with, but the product that we have at the end is, I think, very good. So thank you.
May I
Anyone?
like to speak?
Nope, Linda Erlinger has her.
Representative Erlinger?
Yes, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear
Am
me?
I- Can you hear me?
All right, yes, you
hear
can.
me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I do not stand opposed to this ordinance. However, I am concerned that this matter has not been adequately posted for Branford residents' comments. As RTM representatives, we are elected by our district voters to represent them and not just ourselves. This ordinance to move the tax collector position from elected by Branford voters to appointed by the Board of Selectmen is a significant change for our community, and we are essentially using 29 RTM votes to take the place of 22,000 eligible voters without an opportunity for voter feedback. And while I believe, like many of my colleagues here, that a majority of residents may not care about what this ordinance represents, there are those Branford voters who may want to voice their approval or concerns on this matter, and we have not given them timely and proper notice to do so. The listing of the rules and ordinances and RTM agenda address what the public should understand about this vote we are poised to make tonight. I therefore request that this vote be tabled into the subsequent RTM meeting, and that this ordinance and what it represents for the voters of Branford be clearly expressed in our local publications so that residents have an opportunity to support or oppose the status change of the tax collector position in whatever forum they choose to do so. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Mr. Moderator.
Okay. Representative Black?
I mean, it's not, I'd just like to remind everybody, every ordinance is subject, after publication, to referendum if there's a petition of, I believe it's 15% of the voters. This was also, when we first started this process, there was some publication of, some discussion of this in the local press as well. Thank you.
Point of order.
Yeah.
There was a motion, but it was motion to table. It sounded like it came out.
She didn't make a motion. Does she request a motion?
She requested it. Okay.
She didn't request a motion.
Okay.
But
I thought she said requested.
Clarify, is she requesting that motion?
Representative Erlanger, did you request a motion, or did you request that we table the item?
Requesting that we table the item.
That's a motion.
Okay. Okay.
So you have to look for a second.
Look for the amendment to the main motion. Okay. yeah.
We need a second for that,
Is there-
right?
Yes, you need a second. Is there a second on that? Hearing none, the motion is defeated. Representative Toohill.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I went to the town hall vault today, and Lisa Arpin, the town clerk, was of great assistance. She showed me just where the papers were that I was looking for. The reason I went in there was because this was once before us in the past, and I was on the RTM, as well as Representative Black. And this is what happened, okay? John Opie was the first selectman at the time. So January 12th, 2005, the RTM, under the moderator, who was Selectman Dunbar, he had the R&O look into it. And they came back under Chairman Brian Festa. He was the chairman of the Rules and Ordinances at the time. He came back in February, and he said that they were working on it at R&O, and he asked the motion to be re-referred. So then, Brian Festa and the Rules and Ordinance Committee had a public hearing on March 1st, 2005 at the Senior Center. And John Opie spoke, and he said that there was a poll taken by him, an informal poll, and the results came out clearly in favor of an appointed or hired position for town clerk and tax collector, echoing the comments that had been heard. He said the results were 39 in favor of the ordinance changes, and there were 18 opposed. he talked about the good things about the person being hired. It takes a long time for the town, the tax collector, to go through the certification process, 3 years. And, it's a cumbersome and expensive, time-consuming process. So that's one of the reasons I think it's before us again tonight. The other thing that happened back then was that in those days, they could not have these positions appointed, right? I mean, what had to happen would be a change in the town charter. That would require the appointment of a charter revision committee. So it was kind of putting the cart before the horse, if you know what I mean. So anyway, the RTM voted in May 2005. No, I'm sorry, April 2005. The motion to approve was by John Smith, Representative Smith, and by Representative Bruno. And it lost 14-8 with 5 abstentions. So that's what happened back then, 2005. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Anyone else like to discuss? Representative Brooks?
I just want to point out, mostly for the public, somewhere out there, that it's important to note that the ordinance reads, "The tax collector in office on the effective date hereof shall continue in office until the expiration of the term for which he was elected." So the person that the voters elected will continue in that position through his term, regardless, because that's what's right and fair. Thanks.
Any further discussion from members? Representative Henschel?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to speak obviously in support of this ordinance. We spent a lot of time in committee. I think this was a excellently worked out bipartisan effort, and it reflects, I believe, the prevailing sentiment of the community at this point. The position is intrinsically not a political position. There's no political discretion allowed in the execution of the duties of the tax collector. State law actually defines very clearly what the roles and responsibilities are, and in fact the certification process that the state has set forth allows that to be put in place with the tax collector. So, I think this is an excellent change for the town. I think it's time that we get this passed. We have been working on this since March. There's been, it has been on the call of the RNO since that time, and I think there has been quite adequate time for people in the public to either attend the RNO meetings, or if people were attending the RNO meetings and felt that greater dissemination of what was being discussed needed to be put in front of the public, there's been a lot of opportunity for that to have been done through the news media, etc. So I feel that we should get this done, and I'm not concerned with this particular ordinance. I think it's in the best interest of the town. I'm not concerned with the supposed lack of communication to our community. It was on the call tonight. I don't see anybody in the public that's come forth to speak either way about it. So I think this is going to be a great change for the town, and I think hopefully we'll pass it in the form presented. It does, just for the general public's edification, if they haven't read the details of this ordinance, it does require unanimous vote of the selectmen, which was put in very specifically to avoid the appointment process appearing to be political. And from our point of view, that was a key provision, and I'm glad that it remains in the ordinance, and I think it will serve us well. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak to this item? Hearing none, this will be a roll call vote. A yes vote is in favor of the ordinance, a no vote is against.
Representative Alphone,
Yes.
Representative Amore,
Yes.
Representative Anderson,
Yes.
Representative Barron,
Yes.
Representative Black,
Yes.
Representative Bonenberger,
Yes.
Representative Brooks,
Yes.
Representative, wait a minute, absent, Representative Everson,
Reluctantly, yes.
Representative Erlanger,
Yes.
Representative Greenberg,
Yes.
Representative Healy,
Yes.
Representative Henschel,
Yes.
Representative Hines,
Yes.
Representative Ingraham,
Yes.
Representative Leach is yes. Representative Maresca,
Yes.
Representative Preet,
Yes.
Representative Shrestha,
Yes.
Representative Sires,
Yes.
Representative Stepanik,
Yes.
Representative Sullivan,
Yes.
is Representative Torelli virtual?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Representative Toohill?
Yes.
She's on her phone.
Okay, I couldn't see her. Representative Verderam?
Yes.
Representative Wells?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Okay, so it is unanimous.
Unanimous?
Mhm.
Okay, the ordinance passes, a unanimous vote. Yes.
Comment. I'd like to thank Representative Toohill for doing the history search and also compliment the R&O committee for this work. I'd also like to point out, Frank, that you and I are now old enough to refer to 2005 as back in those days.
You know, it was a long time ago, Representative Maury.
It seems like yesterday, Frank.
That's true, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 5, to consider and if appropriate, approve a recommendation of the Board of Finance that the RTM evaluate the request to fund the position of the Register of Voters on a full-time basis beginning January 1, 2023, for each year of their 2-year term of office at the rate of pay recommended by the Human Resources Department and approved by the RTM. This recommendation will be made pursuant to an analysis of the department's operations and staffing requirements. Representative Verderam.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. After a lengthy discussion at Admin Services last week, the committee voted 6-1 to re-refer this item so we could get more information from our registrars.
Okay, motion on the floor and to re-refer this item. Is there any discussion on the item? Here, Representative Brooks.
Through you, Mr. Moderator. So, you know, we have an election coming in whenever, November. Is there, from your work so far, an urgency prior to that election, or will survive and go beyond that?
Representative Verderam.
Through you, Mr. Moderator, there is an urgency to have this item be on the agenda for next month before the full RTM and to vote on it.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of re-referring the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is re-referred. Moving on to item 6, to consider and if appropriate, adopt a policy for virtual meetings into our town meeting rules. Representative Black.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. R&O did not meet on this item. I expect to have a special meeting that will include this on September 19th. So I ask that this be re-referred and put that in the form of a motion.
I'll second.
Is there a second? Second by Representative Sullivan. Any discussion regarding this item to be re-referred? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is re-referred. Moving on to item 7, to to consider and appropriate approve the transfer request from the tax collector for fiscal 2022 as follows. From tax refunds, $8,403. From consulting, $1,550, for a total of $9,953. 2, overtime, $8,403. 2, repair and maintenance, $600. 2, membership conference meetings, $430. 2, postage, $520, for a total of $9,953. Representative Verderam.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This item passed committee with a unanimous vote. This transfer is to basically assist the department with tying up some loose ends. And with that, Mr. Moderator, I move a favorable vote.
Okay, a motion on the floor to approve this item. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Item is passed. Item number 8, to consider and if appropriate, approve a transfer request for fiscal 2022 from the First Selectman as follows. Fund 700, from Fund 700, transfer in $25,000 to EV charging station vehicles, $25,000, and from General Fund Executive, from contingency, $25,000, to transfer out 700 fund, $25,000. Representative Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ways and Means meeting was met last Wednesday on the 7th to hear this motion. And with the town's continual drive for diversification in utility usage, we're looking to have a few more electric vehicle charging stations here in town. It's a program set up by the utility companies that are going to put $20,000 towards each of these charging stations. Our big thing with these charging stations are that they're not just free. That if you're going to charge at these, you have to pay for that electric just like everybody else is paying for their gas though with those vehicles. These also, we're being told, they will not be able to just park in these spots all day long. That there will be some sort of penalty if you are there too long past charging time. With that, we heard the rest of it and we passed this through committee. We were just 3 in numbers that evening, so it passed 3-0. And I put that in a form of motion that we pass it this evening. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Is there any discussion on the motion? Representative Maury?
Just a question through you, Mr. Moderator. How much per charging station altogether? How much does it cost to?
They're different, Representative. We're getting $20,000 for each one, right? So it really depends upon where it is as far as what it's going to cost us. The one at Foote Park might cost $25,000. The one at the fire department is $35,000. It depends upon how it takes to actually install it to get it there. And again, our first selectman might be able to say more.
Selectman Cosgrove, you'd like to talk to
I would just add, it's not a flat rate, but that's where they was averaging out for those 2 locations. There's some other locations where it may not cost quite as much because there's already some infrastructure in place. So we'll probably be getting a little less reimbursement in terms of dollars. But what is great is the percentage of the cost of furnishing and installing is the incentives are quite high right now. There's this program that started this past year, and we have 3 locations as Representative Healy just mentioned: Foote Park, the animal shelter, the firehouse, where these locations are in the works. When we saw the amount of incentive money coming in, and knowing that we have identified other locations that would support this, we thought this would be a good time to leverage those dollars.
Yeah. And a second question, really, for the electric car driving public. Do they know how much they're going to charge for people plugging in and refueling, if it were? I mean, is there a scheme in place for that yet?
Well, I don't know if there's not a scheme.
But
municipalities, certainly we're going to have, people are going to be required to pay. It's not meant to be a cost center revenue generator,
Yeah, no.
but we're looking to cover the cost of the power and the stations.
I just thought it was interesting, is it like
Yeah, so we don't
kilowatt,
have
is
the
it
fee,
like, you know?
that'll be whatever the market,
Yeah, okay.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. I'm sorry, hold on. Did you have your hand up, Representative Stepanik?
I did. I just had a quick question, and that was regard to potentially competition between.
When you speak into the mic, they won't, they can't hear you.
TV can't hear you.
Right, do you hear me now?
Yeah.
The question I just wanted to ask is if there's any potential competition, because as you know, we have in our town some electric EV companies that want to install charging stations at their premises in order to attract customers, so that there will be charging stations in our town. If we establish these three, are we posing a competition to discourage the private investment in charging stations? It was just a question.
Can
I don't know. I don't think anybody has an answer on that.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
I just, through you, Mr. Moderator, just want to respond to, for example, the Parthenon has a charging station that's free for its customers. So, I mean, other businesses offer that as kind of an incentive for you to visit their business, and therefore it's no charge. I'm sure this will be very different, and people are probably, that have electric vehicles, probably aren't going to want to sit there all day and pay for the electric bill. They probably have chargers at home. I don't know if that helps at all, but the businesses I know that have chargers right now, they do not charge you for the electricity. Like there's chargers at Bishop's Orchard and the Parthenon and Stony Creek Brewery, and those are all free. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, this item carries. Moving on to item 9, to consider and if appropriate, approve a transfer request from the Board of Fire Commissioners for the following end-of-year transfers to close out the fiscal 2021-2022 budget. From equipment, $1,200. From miscellaneous volunteer expenses, $200. From regular wages and salaries, $127,500. From medic shift PT, $19,700. Overtime public events, $8,100. Vacation, $10,500. Holiday pay, $17,600. Special detail, $1,016. Accrued payroll expense, $4,200. Stipends, $19,300. Professional development, $2,500. Ambulance billing, $14,200. Employment testing, $13,000. Purchase services R&M, $7,410. Other supplies, $295. Fire prevention investigation, $814. Postage, $500. CMed, $840. Equipment replacement, $432. And then from volunteer equipment, $8,069. Medical supplies, $7,200. Other fuel, $2,319. Communications, $6,500. The membership card and conference meetings, $319. Contingency, $40,148 for a total of $312,863. 2. Deputy Fire Marshal stipend, $400. Overtime, $245,026. Longevity, $295. Uniform clothing, $2,155. Safety supplies, $432. Furniture and fixtures, $5,969. And educational incentive, $2,245. Accumulated sick pay, $7,774. Hydrants, $8,419. Replaced sick, $40,148. For a total of $312,863. And I understand that Representative Sullivan, you conducted the meeting, and we appreciate your effort.
It was very fun. Yeah, the Public Services Committee meeting met via Zoom on September 12th this week, and we heard this item. Fire Chief presented and explained these items that the moderator just read. Primarily, this is some transfers to cover some vacancies, increased costs in hydrant charges, and a sick payment to a retiree. The committee voted 4-0 in favor of these transfers, and I put that in the form of a motion.
The mic, please, the mic. All right, Representative Black, you also heard the contingency portion?
So it'd be Representative Healy.
I'm sorry.
You want me
You?
to speak to
Yeah,
it as well?
yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, due to the contingency transfer for the sick time, we also heard this in committee. And whereas I didn't feel comfortable because I didn't know a lot of the background of the Public Works Department, the contingency aspect that was brought up was passed 3-0 in our committee. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
The mic, please. Any further discussion on this item? Representative Toohill?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Some more comments that we heard from the fire chief. He said, as we just heard from Chris, that there were 4 vacancies in that department, and all 4 have now been filled. There is 1 working for us already. 3 are at the academy. Graduation for them is in December. And then also COVID, you know, there was a lot of people out from time to time because of COVID. He also said that ambulance, the income has exceeded expectations at this point by $113,000. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this transfer? Representative Brooks?
Through you, Mr. Moderator, was it your, Representative Sullivan, was it your impression that this was a one-time kind of a just odd circumstance for that amount of overtime? Or like, so next year we won't have the same situation? Or should we prepare ourselves for that?
Through you, Mr. Moderator. My impression was that it was based on the 4 vacancies, which Representative Toohill has brought up that have been filled to this point. So I wouldn't suspect it would be similar to next year, but my crystal ball's a little cloudy over here. So, but the vacancies have been filled.
Mr. Moderator, just
Representative Ingraham?
add to that, 127,000 of it came out of regular salary. The overtime is for the fill-in, so a good portion of it came out through regular salary. Just moved to the new bucket.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes. Item 10, to consider an appropriate approve request from the Emergency Management Director for the following fiscal 2022 transfers. From contingency, $1,824, to overtime, $247, and to purchase services R&M, $1,577, for a total of $1,824. Representative Sullivan, did you hear that?
No, Mr.
Okay. Representative Healy?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, this was heard by the Ways and Means Committee coming out of contingency. The large portion of it, again, coming the $1,577, is for purchasing of software that's going to enable them to put things more into the cloud. So that passed through committee 3-0, and I put it in the form of a motion that we pass it as well. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer, and just so Representative Sullivan, emergency management comes under the fire department also, but this doesn't matter at this point, contingency, which one. Any discussion on approval of this transfer? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, item passes. Moving on to item 11, to consider an appropriate approval request from the Board of Police Commissioners for the following fiscal 2022 transfers. From regular wages and salaries, $88,471. From parts, $7,208. From radio communication system expense, $21,800, for a total of $117,479. 2, transfer to capital fund, $90,008. Accumulated sick pay, $13,745. Board clerks, $257. Education incentive, $175. Stipends, $175. Other fuel, $8,808. Communications, $3,864. Membership conferences, $447, for a total of $117,479. Representative Sullivan?
Another page.
Yeah, there's a little bit, there's a second
Turn the
part
page.
to the item, Mr.
Oh,
Moderator.
I'm sorry, I didn't keep, you're right, continuation. And then transfer in $90,008, and increase vehicles, $40,000, and increase PD vehicle equipment, $42,800, and increase portable radio replacement, $7,208, for a total of $90,008. Okay,
All right, thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Public Services Committee also heard this item on Monday, September 12th. Police Chief Mahern presented this. This is primarily to move funds to purchase and outfit a police vehicle that was taken out of the budget during the budget vote, and also to pay out accumulated sick pay to a retiree. The committee voted 4-0 in favor of these transfers, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Is there any discussion? Representative Toohill.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. To add to Representative Sullivan's report, Chief John Mulhern told the committee that as far as the surplus from the radio system expense goes, $21,800, that's our share of $530,000, our share from an expense of 6 other towns, he said. And he said that for that expense, that the town took $100,000, which came from the police asset forfeiture fund. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item?
Just a question.
Representative Maury?
Yeah, there's a significant amount, almost 90,000 coming out of wages and salaries. Any explanation for that?
I don't have anything in my notes about that.
Typically, vacancies.
Take it.
Typically, that there's vacancies, so it leaves a surplus funds.
There's a scheme there. There's a scheme. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Item carries. Item 12, to consider and approve a transfer request from the Register of Voters for the following transfer fiscal 2022 from election workers, $4,300, to deputy registrars, $3,107, to seasonal part-time help, $318, to other expenses, $875, for a total of $4,300. Representative Verderame?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Admin Services heard this transfer item last week. This transfer is basically to cover training for our deputy registrars and other officials that work in that office. So, Mr. Moderator, I move a favorable vote.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Any discussion on the motion?
I have a question.
Representative Leach?
What was the vote unanimous in committee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The item carries.
Aye.
Was that Claire? Representative Claire? Representative 13, to consider and appropriate approve a transfer request from the Public Works for fiscal 2022 from road materials, $6,865, to streetlights, $41,932, to road painting and signs, $6,865, utilities, $5,190, other fuel, $36,742, for a total of $48,797. Representative Sullivan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Public Services Committee also heard this item on Monday, September 12th. Gary Zielinski presented these items. What's covered in this transfer is moving dollars into road painting and signs, partially because of a change from latex-based paint to epoxy-based paint, which costs more but actually lasts 3 times longer, so it'll actually be less frequently need to be repainted on the roads for like fog striping, etc. And then additional dollars moved into utilities and fuel to cover increased costs in those items that were not foreseen when the budget was made. The committee voted unanimously in favor of these transfers, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Is there any discussion on the motion? Representative Toohill.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just to add again to Representative Sullivan's report.
Do you just want to do these?
No, that'll be too much work, no. Only adding, all right? Just want to say, right, that as Representative Sullivan did say, we did hear from the Highway Director, Gary Zelensky, about the paint switch, which is an excellent idea. He also said that the town has now moved to striping 5 lines on the roads to be, which are used as traffic calming, which is good to hear. And he also said, right, that the increase in the paint cost is because the town has been doing a lot of paving work. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes. Moving on to item 14. Consider and appropriate approve a transfer request from the town planner for fiscal 2022 from seasonal part-time help, $3,114, to overtime, $1,440, for a total of $3,114. Representative Black.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. RNO has not met since this was passed by the Board of Finance at their last meeting, but in the spirit of Josh Brooks, of not having a lot of meetings any more than necessary, this is a fairly small transfer that's largely a color of money thing between one type of labor and another type in advertising that would be legally required. I'll move that we waive Rule 4.11 and ask for a second to that so that we can act on this tonight. Thank you, Josh.
Should be Josh.
Is that on the next page? No.
The Brooks rule, is that?
Well, I have something. I have.
This, the item is.
It's on the next line. It's on the next line.
It's on the
Yes,
next
that's
line?
right.
It's got
That's
bumped
right.
down.
I had to
Yeah.
pull it, so it's here. See the
front of the
1674?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it dropped, okay. I just want to make sure that the overtime was
It's there.
1,400, then the
Yeah, it's-
advertising was $1,674. Okay, there's a motion on the floor from Representative Black to waive Rule 441. Is there a second?
It was from Representative Brooks.
Brooks?
I don't have any questions. I just want to prove.
Is there any discussion on waiving the Rule 441? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, Representative Black?
Yeah, thank you. Just to clarify, there was I guess a printing error or whatever, formatting error. You got seasonal part-time help, $3,114, that was unused there, and wanting to transfer $1,674 from the seasonal part-time to overtime, and then putting $1,440 into advertising. So I'll put that in the form of a motion and look for a second. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Representative Henschel? Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Item carries. Moving on to item 15, to consider and appropriate approve the transfer request from the Zoning Board of Appeals for fiscal 2022 from office supplies, $400, from travel, $155, from memberships, $200, for a total of $755, and to advertising, $755. Representative Black.
Thank you. Again, receiving my telepathic messages from Representative Brooks, I'll move to waive Rule 4.11 on this item. Thank you.
Is there a second? Representative Brooks? Any discussion on waiving Rule 441? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Rule 441 has been waived. Representative Black?
Aye.
Thank you. Again, this is
Aye.
largely end-of-year cleanup, some small surpluses in some accounts being transferred to advertising. As you know, the Zoning Board of Appeals has to do a lot of advertising of meetings, and just as we do, and it's hard to budget correctly. So I'll move that we approve this small transfer of $755. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to item 16, to consider an appropriate approval request from the lead tradesman for the following fiscal year 2022. Transfer from general government buildings, GGB, from regular wages and salaries, $41,026. Accrued payroll expenses, $170. Uniform and clothing, $2,853. Purchase services, R&M, $41,026. Office supplies, $800. Other supplies, $2,141. Meal supplies, $490. Equipment, $733. Furniture and fixtures, $250. Membership and conferences, $1,200 for a total of $90,689. 2. Overtime, $2,139. 2. Utilities, water, electric, and gas, $81,302. Fuel oil, $7,248 for a total of $90,689. Representative Sullivan?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This item was also heard at our meeting on September 12th from the Public Services Committee. Selectman Cosgrove presented this item as the lead tradesman was away on vacation. This is primarily moving funds to cover overruns in the utilities and fuel oil line items in the budget. The committee voted in favor of this unanimously, 5-0, and I would put that in the form of a motion.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Is there any discussion on the motion? Representative Toohill, what? Are you
You want to rule me out of order, Mr. Moderator?
No, go ahead.
When I don't have the right to speak?
Yeah, you have the right to speak.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just to add to Representative Sullivan, I mean, these are information the public, could and should know, right? That's why that's why I'm speaking up about it, okay? Just to add to what Representative Sullivan said, as you see, there's a big increase in the water, the electric, and the gas, 81,000. It's because the cost to power the community house has been transferred to this department. Thank you.
Representative Brooks?
Through you, Mr. Moderator, to, First Selectman, who's not the lead tradesman. Can't be, I don't know. But, so, to me, something like this, where the utility water, that's kind of a surprise, somewhat, whatever. And I just want to say that I would be in full support that if money is needed, that for those other expenses, the payroll, the salaries, and the purchase services, if money is needed, that I think would fall under a contingency situation. So I would encourage the lead tradesman or yourself to come back to this body. That's it.
Yeah. if I could
Selectman
just
Cosgrove?
Just quick, yeah, certainly if as everyone knows, this is cleaning up old year accounts. So the first thing finance does is look at what are the existing balances in those accounts for the year and try to make it all work within each respective department. If there was not enough, then we would take out a contingency. Just to be clear, when it came to those items that we took money from, that was not done as a strategy to cover shortfalls in other accounts. We reconciled this at the end of the year. As far as that large increase, Representative Toohill is correct. It is partly due because this budget did not contain the utilities for when we drafted this budget over a year, close to a year and a half ago, did not include the utilities for the community center. And also since that time, over the last year, as many of you know, there were significant rate increases in both electric and gas. So that's
Cutting out, Greg.
where this came from. So this current budget that you approved has an increase to accommodate those accounts. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Extensions? Item passes. Moving on to item 17, to consider and if appropriate, approve the request from the building department for the following transfers. Fiscal 2022, from contingency, $4,484 to stipends, $4,484. From contingency, $4,485. This is fiscal year 2023, to stipends, $4,484. And for fiscal 2022, from other supplies, $500, and then from travel, $400, for online, 2 online services for $900. Representative Healy?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, Ways and Means met last Wednesday on the 7th to review and hear this. Basically, what we're looking at is the governor's ordinance to allow during COVID restaurants to be able to have outdoor dining, and hence we needed somebody to watch over what was going on there. Since that was not budgeted within any department, the governor's ordinance put it between P&Z or municipal buildings people. So again, since it wasn't part of the original salaries, we had to pay this individual out of a stipend. It passed through committee 3-0, and I put its passage here, put that in the form of a motion for its passage here. Thank you.
Motion on the floor to approve these transfers. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Item carries. Moving on to item 18, to consider and appropriate approve request from the town clerk for the following budget transfer for fiscal 2022. From computer indexing, $128. From advertising, printing, and binding, $443. Office supplies, $23. Vital statistics, $212 for a total of $806. To professional development, $806. Representative Verderam?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. We heard this item last week in Administrative Services, pretty self-explanatory. This small transfer is to cover professional development for our town clerk. The item passed committee unanimously, and I put that in a form of motion here on the floor.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Item passes. Moving on to item 19, to consider and approve the following fiscal 22 transfers for the finance director. From probate court communications, $205. To property auto general liability insurance, $205. From board of finance for audit, $1,435. To advertising, printing, and binding, $1,435. From municipal insurance damage, $14,202 to $14,202. And then this is going to be a continuation. I'm just going to read from special detail to consider and if appropriate, approve the resolution below to increase the fiscal year 2022 budget to cover police special detail costs offset through higher than budgeted revenues. Resolved that the Board of Finance recommends to the RTM to increase in appropriation for the fiscal year 2022 general fund budget from $120,965,315 to $121,239,315. This increase will be funded through increased estimated revenue resulting from special detail receipts. And increased special wages police, $274,000, and increased police special detail, $274,000. And then expenses and claims and legal fees from contingency, $44,000, to tax appeal, $37,000, for a total of $81,000, and to legal, $23,000, and to expenses and claims, $8,000, for a total of $81,000. Representative Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, last Wednesday, our committee did review and go over these. Basically, what we're looking at for the probate court is increase in premiums for that $205. And as we move forward, Board of Finance, their increase was also for printing for budget books, annual reports, things like that of that nature. Municipal insurance, same thing. There was an increase in premiums versus what was expected at the beginning of the year. And then we get down to the bottom, the legal fees.
Thank you.
Some of which we're still paying off Crescent Bluff, with some of the issues that are still going on there, as well as Parkside and some tax appeals. These passed through our committee unanimously, 3-0, and I put it in the form of motion that we make those transfers here today. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Motion on the floor to approve.
Yeah, the report is public service.
Who's that? Representative Maury? You have your hand up?
No.
Public services
Oh,
versus
okay.
special detail item.
Special,
but
okay.
We could finish up that motion first because it's separate, right?
Okay, we're going to do Representative Healy's motion first. Any discussion on Representative Healy's motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Transfer is carried. Now we'll go over to the special wage police.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Public Services Committee also heard this item at our meeting on September 12th. Selectman Cosgrove also spoke to this item. This is primarily to put funds into an account for paying for police duty at like construction sites or when there's road work being done. Normally the budget is around $500,000. This is an increase due to the increased amount of work being done in town, and there will be an offset because we get paid for those officers being at those locations. The committee voted unanimously in favor of that, so I'll put that in the form of a motion and yield the remainder of my time to Representative Toohill.
Just to be clear, we're also acting on the resolution at this time, and that's included in your motion, Representative Sullivan. Thank you.
Right.
Frank?
Thank you, Representative. And so, like Representative Sullivan did indicate, the special wages, police, special detail, it's basically a wash with the increased amount of road jobs that have been going on in the town, with the fiber optics and everything that I'm sure everybody's seen all these trucks circling all around the town. It's basically a wash. We get paid for that. It really doesn't come out of the town. Representative Toohill, would you like to speak to this?
I believe that, right, the reports we've heard so far tonight by the moderator, as well as Representative Sullivan, has covered everything. Thank you.
All right, we're voting on the special wages and also the recommendation of the appropriation of increasing the general fund budget. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Does this have to be,
Abstentions? What?
does this have to be a roll call? Because it's a resolution?
I don't believe so, Peter, Representative Black, right?
I don't know, but...
Do we want to come back?
Let's just...
Just for fun of it.
Well, you know what, just Representative Ringham has a good point. Let's, you know what, just so we don't...
We can do it faster than I can find it on my phone.
Yeah.
Let's do a roll call vote out. Just to be on the...
This is on the resolution?
Just as on the resolution, just to be on the safe
Representative
side.
Lage's hand
Yeah, just
needs
to,
to move.
A yes vote is in favor or no vote is
Took last
against?
month off. So.
okay. Thank you, everyone. Representative Alphone.
Yes.
Representative Amori.
Yes.
Representative Anderson.
Yes.
Representative Barron.
Yes.
Representative Black,
Yes.
Representative Bonenberger,
Yes.
Representative Brooks.
Yes.
Did I wake you?
We all are gonna say yes.
Representative Everson.
Yes.
So just imagine how I feel. Representative Erlanger,
Yes.
Representative Greenberg,
Yes.
Representative Healy,
Yes.
Representative Henschel,
Yes.
Representative Hines,
Yes.
Representative Ingraham,
Yes.
Representative Leach is yes, Representative Maresca,
Yes.
Representative Preet,
Yes.
Representative Shrestha,
Yes.
Representative Sires,
Yes.
Representative Stepanik,
Yes.
Representative Sullivan,
Yes.
Representative Torelli,
Yes.
Representative Toohill,
Yes.
Representative Verderam,
Yes.
and Representative Wells.
Abstain.
You had to. I already wrote yes.
I will change my vote to yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Unanimous, thank you.
Moving on to item 20, any other business to come before the RTM?
Sit, Frank.
Representative Toole, do you have any other business?
Ed?
No? Representative
thank you.
Maury?
Ed? Me?
Yeah,
Sure?
go ahead.
Okay, yes, I am, am I being picked up? Yes. Yeah, okay. I'd just like to announce to the RTM and to the town, as a reminder that the annual Friends of the Blackstone book sale is next weekend, not this one, but the following one. It opens on Thursday, September 22nd, and it runs until Sunday, the 25th. Please come. I'd also like to give a real round of appreciation to the Friends of the Library. They are having a membership drive. Their membership has fallen off. These are a bunch of incredibly hardworking volunteers that do a lot to raise funds that go to the library, but what goes to the library mostly comes out in programs rather than support for, it doesn't support operations, it supports programs and special things. So if you're interested in volunteering to help something concretely in the town, go to the Blackstone Library, look for the Friends link, and become a member. They're also going to be, they have a wonderful operation with a warehouse that has gotten too small. So they're going to be looking for adequate space for warehousing in the next year. So if anybody has any ideas on affordable warehousing space, they are also looking for that. Barbara Barrett is the new chair of the Friends, and they can use advice, and they can use members. So again, if you're looking to volunteer, it's a great way to do it. Very concrete work. So thank you very much. Go to the sale and spend money. Thank you.
Any other business come before the RTM? Representative Black.
Just as an announcement, should probably meet next Tuesday, the 19th. Generally meet the third Tuesday if we need to, and I'll probably, if I get the golf cart ordinance from Representative Ingraham, that'll be on the agenda as well. Thank you.
Any other business to come before the RTM?
Yes, Mr. President.
Representative Reverson, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Moderator, if we could get an update from the First Selectman on the blight ordinance that was enacted by the RTM more than a year ago and went into effect on January 1, on how the implementation of that is coming along. I've had constituents ask about it.
Cosgrove, yeah. Jamie, why don't you come up here so this way everybody can hear you?
Thank you.
I heard all night. It's dragging out.
Wow.
So we have an individual that we identified that will bring forward to the Board of Selectmen. As you know, requires the Board of Selectmen. I don't believe it's unanimous, but it requires the Board of Selectmen to appoint a blight officer. So I intend to do that next week. The individual is currently working in our zoning office. He was acting or filling part-time as zoning enforcement officer. So at the beginning of the summer, I was hoping this individual would fill that position. However, as many of you may know, our zoning enforcement at that time had left, so this individual stayed on in that capacity. We have since filled that position, so I talked to him actually today, and plan on appointing him our next Board of Selectmen's meeting.
And if I could just follow up, Mr. Moderator,
Okay.
there's also that the ordinance sets up a board to review. Is that in the works as well?
Yeah, and there's I think we're going to have a forum in which I had met with this individual to discuss about creating that the form, and that people could fill out and make a complaint. The board itself, correct me. The board itself, I believe, also was there language in terms of, I thought it was kind of stayed with what we were doing previous to this ordinance. If that's not, I don't recall if it's in the ordinance itself. I know when we discussed it, but if not, we'll probably keep pretty much the same makeup of individuals. I don't know, did you have language in there in terms of members? I don't recall a board. I know there was a team to go out and look. That's what the process we were doing prior to the RTM adopting it. We actually had a representative from the building department, fire marshals, East Shore District Health, zoning, counseling center. So when we got issues that would come in and the town was made aware, we would essentially have this group, engineering sometimes, would go in and meet with the property owners and try to resolve the matter. I believe when the RTM was creating the ordinance, and they were aware of that process, and I think the intent of the ordinance, again, I don't have it in front of me, was to kind of follow a similar process. It wasn't meant to be heavy-handed. It was meant to try to get some real results first, and working with the residents. So I'm sure Pete Black or Peter Henschel may be able to refresh my memory on it.
Representative.
I don't believe we officially, in the ordinance, set up a board. We listed various members of the administration that would participate. I think also relative to the form, if it helps, I believe, submitted and had several different versions recommended if it would help as a start point, but you may be way beyond that at this point.
Yeah, and the individual, John Rosowski, who I'll be putting forward, he came from a town that had a blight ordinance, so he's familiar with the process, and he had some recommendations too in reviewing that.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I recall. We were trying to stay close to what we would practice prior to this ordinance going into effect. Which, by the way, we had some success in following that process.
Representative Tuhal?
Yeah, I would just like to take this opportunity to thank the first selectman and the candidate that he is talking about. I mean, I've spoken to him before, and he's a great guy, and he understands, the Branford approach to blight. So, thank you, sir.
Anything else, Representative?
No, thank you.
Any other business to come before the RTM? Hearing none, Representative Torelli, you're up. Claire, are you there?
Make a motion to adjourn. I second it.
Is there a second? All right. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Brantford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BrantfordTV.org.